Imperial Count was a title in the Holy Roman Empire. In the medieval era, it was used exclusively to designate the holder of an imperial county, that is, a fief held directly from the emperor, rather than from a prince who was a vassal of the emperor or of another sovereign, such as a duke or prince-elector. These imperial counts sat on one of the 4 benches of counts, whereat each exercised a fractional vote in the Imperial Diet until 1806. In the post-Middle Ages era, anyone granted the title of count by the emperor in his specific capacity as ruler of the Holy Roman Empire became, ipso facto, an imperial count, whether he reigned over an immediate county or not. Origins. In the Merovingian and Franconian Empire, a graf was an official who exercised the royal prerogatives in an administrative district, a lord designated to represent the king or emperor in a county requiring higher authority than delegated to the typical count acquired a title which indicated that distinction. A borderland was held by a margrave, a fortress by a burgrave, an imperial palace, a royal estate by a count palatine, a large territory by a landgrave. Originally the counts were ministeriales, appointed administrators, but under the Ottonian emperors, they came to constitute a class, whose land management on behalf of the ruling princes favored their evolution to a status above not only peasants and burghers, but above landless knights and the landed gentry. The roles within the feudal system tended to become hereditary and were gradually integrated with those of the ruling nobility by the close of the medieval era. The possessor of a county within a subject to the Holy Roman Empire might owe feudal allegiance to another noble, theoretically of any rank, who might himself be a vassal of another lord or of the Holy Roman Emperor, or the count might have no other suzerain than the Holy Roman Emperor himself, in which case he was deemed to hold directly or immediately of the emperor. Nobles who inherited, purchased, were granted, successfully seized such counties, or were able to eliminate any obligation of vassalage to an intermediate suzerain, were those on whom the emperor came to rely directly to raise and supply the revenues and soldiers from their own vassals and manors, which enabled him to govern and protect the empire. Thus their imperial immediacy tended to secure for them substantial independence within their own territories from the emperor's authority. Gradually they came also to be recognized as councillors entitled to be summoned to his imperial diets. A parallel process occurred among other authorities and strata in the realm, both secular and ecclesiastical. While commoners and the lowest levels of nobles remained subject to the authority of a lord, baron or count, some knights and lords avoided owing fealty to any but the emperor, yet lacked sufficient importance to obtain consistent admission to the diet. The most powerful nobles and bishops-electors secured the exclusive privilege of voting to choose a Holy Roman Emperor from among their own number or other rulers whenever a vacancy occurred. Those just below them in status were recognized as imperial princes who, through the hereditary vote each wielded in the Diet's College of Princes, served as members of a loose legislature of the empire. Power and political role. As the empire emerged from the medieval era, immediate counts were definitively excluded from possessing the individual seat and vote in the diet that belonged to electors and princes. In order, however, to further the political interests more effectively and to preserve their independence, the imperial counts organized regional associations and held grafentage. In the imperial diet, starting in the 16th century, and consistently from the perpetual diet, the imperial counts were grouped into imperial comital associations, known as grafenbanki. Early in the 16th century, such associations were formed in Wetterau and Swabia. The Franconian Association was created in 1640, the Westphalian Association in 1653. They participated with the emperor, electors and princes in ruling the empire. empire by virtue of being entitled to a seat on one of the count's benches in the Diet. Each bench was entitled to exercise one collective vote in the Diet, and each comital family was allowed to cast one fractional vote toward a bench's vote. A majority of fractional votes determined how that bench's vote would be cast on any issue before the Diet. 4 benches were recognized by being seated and allowed to cast a shared vote on a count's bench. An imperial count obtained, if only officially, the seat and vote within the Imperial Diet, which, combined with imperial immediacy, made of his chief landholding an imperial estate and conferred upon him and his family the status of Landhoheit, i.e., the semi-sovereignty which distinguished Germany and Austria's high nobility from the lower nobility, who had no representation in the Diet and usually answered to an overlord. Thus the Reichsständisch imperial counts pegged their interests and status to those of the imperial princes. In 1521 there were 144 imperial counts. By 1792 only 99 were left. The decrease reflected elevations to higher title, extinction of the male line, and purchase or annexation by more powerful imperial princes. In 1792 there were 4 associations of counties contributing the votes of 99 families to the Diet's Reichsfürstenrat. The Lower Rhenish-Westphalian Association of Imperial Counts, with 33 members. The Wetterau Association of Imperial Counts, with 25 members. The Swabian Association of Imperial Counts, with 24 members. The Franconian Association of Imperial Counts, with 17 members. Napoleon's reorganization of the continental map squeezed not only all imperial counts but most princes out of existence as quasi-independent entities by the time of the implosion of the Holy Roman Empire in 1806. Each was annexed by its largest German neighbor, although many were swapped by one sovereign to another as they sought to shape more cohesive borders or lucrative markets. In 1815 the Congress of Vienna sought to turn back the clock on the French Revolution's politics, but not on the winnowing of Germany's ruling dynasties and myriad maps. The imperial counts and princes were compensated for the loss of the rights as rulers with largely symbolic privileges, gradually eroded but not extinguished until 1918, including ebenbürtigkeit, the right to intermarry with Germany's still reigning dynasties, a prerogative most Reichs- and Mittelbar families had enjoyed prior to mediatization. A few counties had been elevated to principalities by Napoleon. Most of these were also mediatized by the Congress of Vienna. A few of their dynasties held on to the sovereignty until 1918, Lippe, Reuss, Schwarzburg and Waldeck-Pyrmont. Status of imperial count. Those counts who received the title by letters patent from the emperor or an imperial vicar were recognized within the subsequent German Empire as retaining the titles and rank above counts elevated by lesser sovereigns, even if the family had never held imperial immediacy within the empire. A comital or other title granted by a German sovereign conferred, in principle, rank only in that sovereign's realm, although usually recognized as a courtesy title elsewhere. Titles granted by Habsburg rulers in their capacity as kings of Hungary, archdukes, or emperors of Austria were not thereby Reichsgrafen, nor ranked with comparable precedents even post-1806. Titular imperial counts usually had no role in the ruling of the empire, although there were exceptions. Sometimes, when a prince wished to marry a lady of lower rank and have her share his title, the emperor might elevate her to imperial countess or even princess, but this conferred upon her neither the same title nor rank borne by dynasts, nor did it, ipso facto, prevent the marriage from being morganatic.